Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. It sets us up to be hungry and snacking 2 hours later. Breakfast cereals, sandwiches, and fancy waffles all flood our system with glucose, which spikes insulin. Spiked insulin puts our bodies in fat storage mode, which means that those healthy grains that we're eating for weight loss cannot work. This ensures that our natural morning fat burning potential isn't going to happen. We're hungry and looking for food. So the food companies' healthy cereals aren't about fueling our day. They're about creating customer retention. And I can tell you, they had me hooked. I'm not a doctor. I'm sharing what I've learned that helped me to see those heart healthy cereal check marks on cereal boxes in a completely new way. To understand how this lie stayed in our pantry for more than 100 years, we have to expose the 3 specific tactics used to cover up this metabolic crime that's been happening. So first, they distract us with fiber. The average adult is fully aware that candy is not healthy. Most of us know that added sugar causes weight gain and poor health. What we don't know is that processed grains are basically sugar to our body, right? They're absorbed as quickly and spike our insulin just as much as candy. But these processed grains aren't marketed as candy because they have fiber in them, right? And they're fortified with synthetic vitamins. And companies are allowed to put heart-healthy claims on packaging if it contains a small percentage of fiber, right? And all they want is to do that claim because they know that most of us adults will try to eat healthy. Like, we want to do what's best for our body. We're looking for the right foods because we want to feel good. That stamp makes us feel responsible, like we're doing the right thing. But we need to understand that that tiny bit of fiber does not change the fact that the majority of what we eat when we eat cereal is spiking our insulin and locking us in fat storage mode. And this is a strategic move on the food company's part. They sell us cheap, highly profitable garbage with an extremely long shelf life, right? They don't lose any of their product. They rarely lose any of their product. And we get hunger a few hours after eating what we think was an extremely healthy meal. One of the ways that they have us convinced that cereal is healthy is by creating a fear of LDL, so that bad cholesterol. Cereal actually lowers LDL, and they will scream about that from the rooftops every chance they get. But the problem is that LDL is not actually bad. All LDL is a vehicle for cholesterol, right? It's like a taxi full of customers on its way to a drop-off, right? To take the cholesterol where it should be going. I don't think I've ever seen any person ever afraid of a full taxi. Somehow we're afraid of LDL though, right? So while we're paying attention to LDL numbers and afraid to eat eggs, we are consuming large amounts of processed grains that are delivering large amounts of sugar to our liver. So when that massive wave of sugar reaches our liver saves us by converting that ridiculous amount of sugar into fat. So yes, it's saving you. If your liver left that sugar as sugar, your blood sugar would be ridiculously high and you would be in a health crisis. De novo lipogenesis, which is making new fat, right, out of whatever the body takes in, it can do it out of more than one thing, but it does it when you eat grains. Is our liver saving our life? And we get mad. We're annoyed by that. But here's the problem. In the process of saving us, the liver ends up making triglycerides, which is a type of fat, and our liver also makes VLDL. So that's the actual dangerous cholesterol particles. Like that, those are the ones we want to be paying attention to. High triglycerides and VLDL have been linked to heart disease and fatty liver. So, for clarity, they're celebrating the small drop in LDL, a marker that isn't an issue, while the volume of garbage we just ate is forcing our body to manufacture the fats that are actually causing harm in our body. Okay, so one quick question for you. Why isn't a bowl of cereal enough? Have you ever wondered about that? Like, we'll eat this supposedly very healthy bowl of cereal, expecting that we should be fine. Why are we hungry 2 hours later? Okay, it's because we have two hormones, leptin and ghrelin, that are supposed to react to food. So when we eat meat, fish, poultry, and eggs, our ghrelin lowers, indicating that food is coming in. And when we've eaten enough of the meat, fish, poultry, or eggs, eventually our leptin rises to signal to our brain that we've taken in enough nutrients and enough energy, like we've eaten enough. This is our natural stop eating signal that helps us to remain healthy. What's important for us to take note here, zero need for calorie counting. As a matter of fact, when we lived on the land and you know, like before we had even an understanding of what a calorie was supposed to be, because that's a pretend metric where our body's concerned, but whatever, we stopped eating because our body told us to stop eating. We didn't need to measure how much food we were putting on our plate. We stopped eating because our body told us to stop eating. The new problem that we're living today is that with garbage, this ridiculous stuff that we eat today, it doesn't work. Cereals are mostly processed starch and lack the dense animal protein and healthy animal fat our body is actually looking for, that it needs to function. It needs it. Animal protein and fat is necessary for our bodies to work. And it can't get it from these grains that we're eating, since grains are not food for humans, right? The stop signal just doesn't ever happen. Our brain is not told we had enough because we haven't actually had enough. Our stomachs are full of volume, and our brain is thinking about what we should be eating next. It's looking for the next thing to eat. But don't forget that the insulin was spiked by all that cereal, right? The sugar in the cereal. So what's our blood sugar is going to crash in a little bit, right? Because it's going to go up, and then our body's going to go, oh no, and it's going to pull it back down. And of course, when we've done that enough times, the up and down and up and down and up and down, when we've done it enough times, what happens is that the crash, it goes below baseline. And now we are actually in a biological emergency. Wellness warrior, you aren't weak. You aren't obsessed with food. You are being kept in a state of chemical hunger. This scam is so genius. We all eat this way. And what that means is that when you see me walking around with one of these things, munching on it, or, you know, maybe even something like this, munching on it, no one is surprised. I could be chewing on an apple. No one is surprised to see people eating midday. Because why? Because we're all eating midday, right? Because we all need those snacks to make it through our day. It's genius what they have us doing. We end up encouraging each other to eat wrong. But did you know that if you ate a proper breakfast of animal protein and fat at, let's say, 8 a.m., you wouldn't be hungry again until about 2 p.m.? Did you know that? But since they've convinced us to eat cereal, we're scavenging for something to eat by 10, just like a mere 2 hours later. What we need to understand is that breakfast cereal, basically the breakfast cereal industry, is the lead generation tool for the snack food industry, right? Like, if we start first thing in the morning, they have us all day long. It's a customer retention strategy designed to keep you buying food all day. Every time you see a vending machine, every time you walk past a shop that has some delicious looking pastry in the window, it's designed to keep you eating all day. And guess what? It's working. I've always known that the 2 scoops of raisins or made with real honey was an advertising campaign, a trick. It's like, oh, they want me to think, like that they actually put 2 scoops of raisins. How big were the scoops? They don't tell us that. In the commercial, they're gigantic. The scoops could be this big. The scoops could be this big. How big are the scoops? Like, I knew that was advertising, but I honestly thought that the heart healthy check mark meant something. I thought that the cereal with the check marks were actively saving people from heart attacks and heart issues and heart problems. I thought there was some kind of research and some kind of proof behind those check marks. But that's not what's happening. And this frustrated me to find this out. The check mark is a paid licensing program to make the cereal look healthier. So, Wellness Warrior, it's like buying a frozen dinner from the grocery store that is branded with a Michelin 5-star restaurant's name, right? The Michelin 5-star restaurant. That's nowhere going to be near the quality, flavor, texture, or experience of the restaurant version of that meal. It's impossible. But because we trust the name on the box, we assume that there's going to be quality inside. Food companies pay the American Heart Association administrative fee for the privilege of printing that check mark on their box. It's a financial transaction, not a medical guarantee. And as long as the cereal is low in fat, low in sodium, and has the minimum required fiber alibi on it, right, in it, they can buy the stamp. Even though that low sodium is bad for us, that low fat is bad for us, and the fiber isn't giving us anything that we need. They aren't looking at what it does to our insulin, that cereal, right? They're not looking at that. Or how quickly we get hungry, because that's not what they're... So the American Heart Association doesn't care about that, because they're the Heart Association. And they're not caring about diabetes. They're looking at the heart thing. Even though it's contributing to heart problems too. But we can't talk about that, right? Because why? They have everything like separated, as if when something comes into my body, it's not impacting my entire body. So since the Heart Association isn't dealing with diabetes and sugar is relegated to talking about diabetes, we've separated these things, and so they can put a heart check on there, even though it is clearly spiking your insulin, which is a diabetic problem. Okay. And our doctors? Well, our doctors are as clueless as we are, I'm sad to say. They are overweight, metabolically challenged, and trained by institutions that are funded by food companies. So doctors aren't trying to hurt us. That's not what's going on there. They're following the guidelines that are set up to favor pharmaceutical and surgical solutions because apparently it is blasphemous to ask people not to eat junk food, right? Like, there is a huge problem with telling people that they should only eat real food. So doctors are not going to go against their guidelines, and so we are stuck running from saturated fat because the institution rules are still blaming fatty steak for heart disease, despite all of the present day understanding of metabolic disease. They want our money. Now, we want out from their stupid trap. So, the best way to get free from the food treadmill that they've tricked us onto is to respect our hormones by eating for health, Wellness Warrior. Our bodies react with lower ghrelin and higher leptin when we eat real food for breakfast. The result is that we get 6 hours of satiety. 6 hours. You can test this out for yourself, Wellness Warrior. You don't have to take my word for it. Tomorrow morning, eat your breakfast, right? And if you've chosen to have animal protein and fat for the first meal, right? You'll be able to make it that 6 hours from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. easily before you feel hungry, right? And then you compare that to the cereal that leaves you scavenging for a granola bar by 10 a.m., right? High carb meals fail this test because they don't fuel us. They spike our insulin and turn us into snack eating repeat customers of food companies. Oh, wait, that's the plan, right? That was the plan the entire time. Now that we know, the only solution is to use the right tools, right? Meat, fish, poultry, eggs. When you eat the right thing and ignore the stupid check mark because it is a scam, right? A scam that they were willing to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in administration fees for. That check mark, they paid for it because it makes them billions of dollars. We need to ignore the scam and eat the thing that lets our body do what it knows how to do. Build us, repair us, use the energy wisely so we can make it through our day on 2 to 3 meals rather than 2 to 3 meals plus 3 to 4 snacks, which is what we've been doing, and most of it harming us. Your health is worth more than the momentary fun of a bowl of cereal. And it is definitely worth more than giving a billionaire another $10, right? We just got to stop doing that. We start eating for health today, Wellness Warrior, because a healthy body regulates its weight. That's the only way that our weight gets fixed, right? So to get started on eating those eggs and bacon, you're going to need to be confident that your cholesterol is not going to be an issue. So I want you to check the video that I did about like my month of eating eggs. And by the way, I still eat eggs all the time, but not every single day. I know you're going to find it helpful. It's linked in the description. And while you're down there, you might as well join the newsletter as well, because I'm going to send you out a newsletter that in 2 minutes, you'll be able to read it and get actionable steps to stay on the road to health. So I look forward to chatting with you guys now, because we're going to change our perspective and let's talk about what we were talking about today. If you have questions or comments, please put them in the chat right now. If you're watching this on the replay, you can throw them in the comment section and I will answer your questions. As many of them as I can get through, I'm going to get through. So where are you guys coming to me from today? I'm kind of curious to know. I've seen some people tell me they're coming from so far away, like I've seen China. It's like I'm just kind of always curious to know what's going on, who's tuning in. Hello, Rockmon, and I think that's a thank you. So you are very welcome. Hi, Missouri here. Missouri. Okay, cool. Ann Webster. Nice to have you in here. You are absolutely right. They have us hooked on flavors. One of the most important things, Wellness Warrior, for all of us to understand is that when we eat, our mouth, so our taste buds, become trained on what we eat. So when we're eating silly things like chocolate or, cheese and crackers, these silly things, matter of fact, even stupid stuff like pasta, like this, our mouth becomes trained on high carbohydrate foods. And because our mouth is trained on high carbohydrate foods, when we try to eat healthier things, like actual, just straight up, let's say meat with salt on it, it tastes bland to us because high carb is very excitatory. Don't get me started on the fact that they've gotten us to put spices all over our meats so that the meat is even like more insanely intense. So I don't want to eat salted meat because the spices of all this carbohydrate stuff is now all over my meat and causing me to be excited when I eat. Your mouth is supposed to be protecting you from weird flavors. And I always go back to this because I do remember it. When my daughter was a baby, every first mouthful of vegetation that I gave her, the look on her face was not happy. But whenever I gave her meat or eggs, like these very bland, because I wasn't putting spices on her meat, so she was a baby, she always looked fine. It was always just like yum yum yum, she would eat it up. But the first bites of all the new foods that were plant-based, always that bad reaction. And if she was going to have a mediocre positive reaction, it was to the bland ones. It was to things like, she liked salad, like bland, hardly any flavor to it. She liked also like potatoes and like rice. And anything that had a lot of flavor, she didn't like it. And now I know better. Now I understand that our brain and our mouth is trained to protect us from these things that are not healthy, right? They're trained to get us to question, why are we eating things that are like, our mouth is like freaking out? But I didn't know that at the time. Thank goodness I know it now. And she's learning it now. Although she's an adult now, don't have the same ability to control what she eats. Chemical flavored garbage. You are absolutely, again, I agree with what you're saying. That's another part of the problem. Real food, and even to use the term real food today is difficult because we have so much genetically modified foods that can we even call them real foods anymore? Like apples did not look the way that they look 500, 600, 700 years ago. The large, juicy plum. Like apples were these little small things. Bananas had seeds all over them. So they've genetically modified foods, first of all, to be sweeter and larger. But also, they've modified them to be more resistant to the animals that would want to eat them. And we don't really hear that for what it means. If it's more resistant to the animal that would want to eat it, that means that they've allowed more toxin to remain in the fruit. And so when an animal eats it, because they are much, especially the small animals, so when we're talking about bugs and stuff, they're so small, they're going to not be able to manage, and they're just going to learn not to eat these things anymore. But we're so gigantic. We can eat how many of them before that toxin actually starts showing itself. It's always doing something, but can we see what it's doing? And this is the thing when I talked to Dr. Eid that she confirmed for me. We intake a lot of things. We intake a lot of things, but we don't understand that, yes, they're having impact. Can I feel the impact immediately? Different question. But it's having an impact. So these chemical flavors that now RFK is talking about and suggesting that we just stop eating these things altogether, yeah, absolutely helping us to basically to understand that it's not because we can eat something that we should be eating it. And it's not because a company pays a lot of researchers to find ways to show that it's innocuous that means it's actually innocuous. They knew about C8 and the damage it was causing, killing cows in the fields and like causing birth defects and all kinds of stuff. And they lied and lied and lied, and even are still modifying C8 to be different numbers, C12, C7, so that they can keep using it because it's functional, right? It's functional. So we need to be careful, because it's not because the thing they were told to stop doing isn't there and they've taken it out. That means that whatever they replace it with to get us to like the flavor again means that it's healthy. I really encourage everybody. Meat, fish, poultry, eggs. I know that there's still issues with the way that they feed our animals. And we still need to work on that. But at least the animals have some ability to process out some of the toxins before it gets to us, because they are processing out some of the toxins. Some of them are getting to us through the animal. We should be looking for our animals to be eating their real food as well, right? Which often is not what's happening. But that's a whole other conversation for a whole other day. Today's conversation is about the fact that what we choose to eat, we should be choosing to eat well. I have my cat here, and I always ensure that he eats real food. He doesn't get anything that's not real food. I even found I have found some treats for him because I'm trying to train him. But what is it? It's freeze-dried salmon. And that's all that's in it. Now, I'm taking a huge risk trusting this company. At the same time, when this bag is over, my goal is that he's learned all the things that I want to teach him. And then I don't need to ever buy another bag. Right? But I don't even trust them for when they say it's freeze-dried only. And I'm still like the little part of my brain that's like, are they telling the truth? What did we learn with Element? Right? They were saying that, exactly what was on their packaging. And then when it was tested independently, they showed all kinds of other things. Right? So they weren't being honest. And I don't trust companies to be honest. So we're doing a limited run with him on a treat to get him to learn some stuff that I need him to learn to make my life not chaotic in hell. And then for the rest of his life, he'll know what to do. And, I think we need to be very, very conscientious of what we let in, right? And I'm very happy with where I finally have landed with my diet, right? Because I feel like he and I are on real food. And I think it's the first time in my life where I'm looking at what I'm eating and I can name everything, right? Like there is a name for what I'm eating, and that's amazing. Hello, Creative Sunboxed. Creative Sunboxed. Oh, interesting. So true. I do pork belly and eggs in the morning and didn't realize by dinner time I only had one meal. I wasn't hungry. Yeah, and I honestly feel like most people, if they were actually paying attention, when you start eating real food and you're eating healthy, if you pay attention, you'll notice that you're not hungry in the morning. We often end up eating breakfast out of habit rather than waiting for that moment when we finally get hungry to eat our first meal. And now that I shouldn't say now that I've taught myself that, because I started doing that way back when I was doing keto. Because I realized I would get up in the morning and following Dr. Westman's instructions, I started off by having breakfast, lunch, and supper because this is what he said to do. And he said, but only eat your breakfast when you're hungry. And when I was on standard diet, woke up and I had breakfast, and maybe that lasted a week. Like eating real food, so meat, fish, poultry, eggs, and real vegetables, very quickly I was to 2 meals a day. And I think if most people actually paid attention, probably 2 meals a day was where it would be where you would be. But we get up and we need to get to work and and we just automatically have breakfast. And the worst part is that if your automatic breakfast isn't meat, fish, poultry, eggs, if it has, so here's another thing to understand. I could have some kind of meat, fish, poultry, eggs, and if I have toast with it or crackers, if I have cereal plus that meat, fish, poultry, eggs, like when I do these things where I am allowing myself to have a large amount of carbohydrate come in, I'm still in the same problem. Because why? Because the large amount of carbohydrate came in. My body had no choice but to put that large amount of carbohydrate in storage. And what does your body do when it's storing? It's storing, right? It's trying its best to get this excess out of you. It's going to pass what you've eaten, so that carbohydrate, through as fast as possible. So we're going to have a bathroom run because it's sugar that causes the bathroom run. I know they want us to think it's fiber. Our body has mechanisms to get rid of sugar, right? And everything that breaks down into sugar and raises our blood sugar, your body's going to find a way to pass it through as fast as possible because less broken down equals less it has to deal with. This is part of the reason that it's very rare for people, for example, who have stoma bags, which is like what happens if you have part of your intestines removed. It is rare that someone will see in their stoma bag meat. They will see it if they've eaten vegetation. They will see meat and vegetation. But if they just eat meat and the vegetation didn't push everything through quickly, they don't see meat in their bag. So what's important to understand there is that, first of all, that bathroom run, carbohydrate caused, right? Or carbohydrate, I would say motivated. And then the second most important thing to understand there is that when you're eating healthy foods, so meat, fish, poultry, eggs, and your body isn't having to get rid of stuff or store stuff, your body doesn't end up storing that amazing protein and fat that you just brought in that it needs, but you brought it in beside this large amount of carbohydrate, and now it's in storage mode. Everything gets stored. And what is it doing 2 hours later? Sending you off for food. It's important for us to understand that part of the story. Los Angeles, terrific. Thank you for sharing that. We have one more, it looks like. So anyways, if there's anyone else who has any questions or comments that they'd like to let me answer, I'm more than willing. This is your opportunity because this seems to be the last one. So something I've noticed about spices is it can cause me to eat a lot more meat. Yep. When I eat meat with only salt or plain, I tend to feel full on less food. This is, again, so I don't remember I think I was watching Rhett and Link, an episode where they were eating stuff. I think they were actually trying to eat pizza or something. I can't remember exactly what they were trying to eat, but I was watching an episode of their show and they were getting full. And then one of them pointed out that if you eat some sugar, you can eat more food. And so they got I think it was a can of like chocolate syrup or something, and they were all taking chocolate syrup, and a few moments later they were eating again. And I remember when I saw that, I didn't quite understand it at that point because I think it was before I started my keto or carnivore lifestyle, but I saw that, I was like, wow, that's weird. But now I totally get it because it's absolutely the truth. And I will tell you, I'll give you my example. I have two. I used to be able to eat a portion, so like my standard portion of ribs and a salad. And I would have that for supper, like often, a portion of ribs and a salad. I was also able to eat a portion of pork belly, and again, like some kind of vegetation, whether it be a salad or some vegetables. And these were two meals that I had often while I was doing keto. When I switched to carnivore, the first place I noticed it, I believe, was with the pork belly, where I made my pork belly meal the exact same. So I buy my pork belly at Costco. And you know how they cut the strips? They're approximately the same size. But I noticed on the first one, I couldn't get through half of it. The first pork belly. And this happened to me more than once, where I was like, oh, well, maybe it was more fatty this time or something. I kind of gave myself these excuses. I started to realize if I only have pork belly, I can only have half of what I was having when I had vegetation. But what solidified it for me was that the exact same thing was happening with ribs. If I was just having the ribs, I could barely get through half. And what was really weird about it with the ribs, and actually I think I had the same experience with the pork belly, is that not only would I not be able to finish it, I would have this kind of like almost like ick feeling near the end. I didn't figure this out by myself, by the way. It was when I was interviewing Dr. Chafee, he talked about that. He talked about how when we eat to satiation, or to full, I should say, on a carnivore diet, it's really, really hard to overeat, because at some point, your body is just going to give you that ick feeling, and you're not going to be able to take more food in. It's not going to work. Your body's going to be like, no, no more food for you. It's over. Like, stop eating. And so I really do think that if we would allow ourselves to pay more attention to what our body is actually telling us works and doesn't work, we'd do better. We would do amazingly better. But because we end up fighting with ourselves, because we end up like acting like what we are eating is supposed to be entertaining, or what we are eating, like we know better than our body how much we need and when we need it, and right? Or we're just locked into a system with an employer where we know if I don't eat now, I'm not going to be able to eat till I get home. Whatever the reason it is that we're not following our body and are instead eating based on the clock, eating based on what other people want us to do, eating based on time, eating whatever it is, because we are not allowing ourselves to pay more attention to what our body's actually asking for, yeah, we end up stuck and not really happy in the food that we're eating, and or not even the food that we're eating, because we think we're happy about the food we're eating. We think we are. We don't know that we're compulsively eating. We don't know that we're out of control. All we know is that the food's coming in and we're eating it, but we don't realize, and I don't think we will probably ever fully realize it until we have the experience of engaging, taking carbohydrates, trying to take carbohydrates out of our diet. When we do that is when we realize that we didn't choose to eat these things. And we realize that we weren't hungry, we were chasing. And the funny thing is, we are hungry. So like, this is where it gets so complicated, right? Because we are hungry because of this chemical thing that's happening in our body. And yet we've eaten so much food. So it's almost like we're stuck eating forever because we eat the wrong things. And then as soon as we start eating the right things, all of a sudden we can eat, well, in my case, once a day, sometimes twice, but in a lot of people's cases, 2 times to 3 times a day, easily, not caring, and feeling completely fine, feeling completely satiated, and having energy, having clarity, like mental clarity, being able to live life the way we want and in our healthy body. So All of this to say, Wellness Warrior, prioritize your health over fun foods. That's the number one thing I want all of you to do. Prioritize your health over the fun taste of whatever you're eating, because that fun taste comes with a price, right? And we end up paying that price big time. I almost needed to have hip surgery. If I would have kept going on the road I was on, I was going to have hip surgery. That is not lost on me ever. And I don't want it to be lost on you guys. So do what you need to do to be as healthy as possible. And then stick with it, right? Because once you get healthy, don't be fooled by them that, oh, now you're better, you can go back. Every time you go back, you're starting your problems over, right? So we need to understand that what we do to get healthy made us healthy because of what we should have been doing in the first place. So doing the right thing for 5 minutes doesn't make you better. We have to do the right thing moving forward. That's what helps us to live our life healthier and better. And I know it's hard to do. That's why I have my community. That's why I have my coaching program, because it's hard to do. It's hard to know what is it that I'm doing that's letting me get pulled back in, because sometimes I've had people who are eating on plan for months in a row, and then a party happens, or some kind of event happens, or a holiday happens, or something bad happens in their life, and they don't understand it because they didn't understand all the different levels and layers there are to why we are compelled to eat. So when you understand all the different levels, that's how, when something is going on, you're able to see it clearly and go, oh, okay, it's another trap that was set for me by the food companies, by the pharma companies, by all these companies that work together. You know, even the fitness industry. I've heard people talking about how their trainers told them information that is just like, no, not accurate. But these little things that live in the back of your mind that you actually believe, you know, like you need carbohydrates to lift in the gym. No, you don't. Absolutely not. Dr. Baker and Dr. Berry are two great examples of where you don't need carbohydrates to lift in the gym. And I know that there are others out there. I've been working out. I don't eat any carbohydrates. I completely have energy to do the workout and after the workout. So, like, you don't need carbohydrates to lift in the gym. It's such a fallacy. Why don't you need to eat them? Because your body makes them. You don't need to eat them. Your body makes them. If you start working out, your body just makes more carbohydrates because that's its job. Again, we need to understand that we don't know better than our body. Our body always knows best, right? I'm trying to force something on my body that's not food for it to do something that, first of all, is aesthetic, but second of all, unless you're doing it for health, like I'm doing it, like I'm just trying to be strong. But if you're doing it to be like gigantic in the gym, no, stop that. It's not helping you in the way that you think it's helping you. That little bit of quick energy is not what you think it is. And I don't even know if it's even real. That's the part that's so frustrating, is that we don't understand that if I tell myself something is good, I'm going to think it's good, even if the data is showing me that it's not good. Why? Because I'm telling myself it's good. I'm going to move forward as if it's good. And I'm only going to know it's a problem when my body shows me it's a problem. What's the problem with waiting for my body to show me? Your body isn't trying to show you. It's trying to keep you as healthy as possible because your body thinks that the reason we're eating plants is because another day passed and you weren't able to catch an animal. Okay, it's going to keep you going as much as it can because the hope is, okay, maybe tomorrow we catch that animal. Wellness Warrior, do yourself the favor. Give your body what it's actually asking for so that your health can be at the highest possible level. And when your health is at the highest possible level, what's going to happen is that you are actually going to be able to lift what you want to lift and do the activities you want to do and live the life you want to live because your health will be at the right level. So I hope that this video helps you, wellness warriors, to stay on track and eat healthy. Don't forget to go down and watch, I'm also going to link it at the end here, but don't forget to watch the video about eggs. That'll help you to really understand why there's no concern for the cholesterol thing. And also join the newsletter. And if you want to become a coaching, you want to do coaching with me, those links are down. All the links are down below. So I can't wait to talk to you guys again next week. Have a great rest of your day. Today's video is brought to you by my keto consultations. You know how to do keto, but you're having trouble just sticking with it? Book a consultation with me and we're going to get you back on track. The link is in the description.